Okay, live again. All right, streaming live into our Fit Over 40 group on Facebook. Wonderful. All right, a couple of minutes late here today, but thank you everyone if you are joining me live in the Zoom or live in the Fit Over 40 group. It is Julie Hodge here, and welcome to How to Eat for Hormone Health. So if you want to just give me a moment, I'm going to share my screen here and bring up our presentation all about how to eat for hormone health here. Let's share the screen and we will go to the presentation. There we go. And hopefully today it'll work. All right. So if you're joining me in the Facebook group, here we go. Oh, it's not sharing again. For some reason, it doesn't like to share on Facebook. So I'm just going to stop the share and I'll speak my way through it. So if you're joining me on Facebook, guys, live, please type your name or say live, I'm here. If you are watching this later on the replay, just type a replay in the comments so I know. It would be nice to know who is accessing this fantastic information designed to help you navigate through perimenopause and some of the changes that are natural that may occur that you may feel with grace and ease and thrive even stronger for it. So How to Eat for Hormone Health is part of my Women's Hormone series. And I welcome you to visit the website at balanceyourhormones.online or fitnessover40.org for more information and more training and learning videos. So let's get started. I will introduce myself here. So my name is Julie Hodge, and I am a certified personal trainer, certified nutrition coach, and an advanced hormone-based specialist. And I've spent over 30 years, so 31 now to be exact, 31 years helping women of all shapes, sizes, fitness abilities, and backgrounds with content, support, knowledge, and techniques around improving not only their physical health, but also their mental and emotional health too, because you really can't have one without the other. They are intertwined. And speaking of intertwined, the hormones are the boss. They run the show. Our hormone health and our gut health are basically intertwined as well. And they basically affect everything that we feel. So today I'll be talking about how to eat for hormone health so that I can continue to serve and support women who are approaching or in perimenopause to help shed some fat, the belly fat, improve their energy, sleep better, reduce premenstrual and menopause symptoms, and get their groove back. So if you're confused about what you should be eating, the confusion ends here. Grab a notebook and a pen if you want to take notes, and let's dive in. So first of all, 2 words: food matters. It matters now more than ever before, especially if you are in that, like I said, approaching perimenopause or already in perimenopause. So to kick off our conversation around hormone health today, one of the first things I need to talk about is food. Okay, so certain foods can throw our hormones in our body off balance. And so I want you just to imagine, consider, what kind of foods do you think that those would be? All right, so I'm sure in your head, I just want you to make a list, or if you're watching this live or on the replay, maybe just comment for me, what are those kind of foods? Okay, what do you think? What is your guess? In the same way, other foods can boost our hormone health and promote more balance. If you've already made positive changes to your diet and lifestyle, but you're still feeling a little off, that might mean it's time to investigate whether there are some unexpected hormone disrupting foods or chemicals hidden in the foods you are eating. And if you want more on this, go to my YouTube channel. I have so many other learning videos on other things, like some of the endocrine disrupting toxins and stuff in previous trainings that expands a little bit more on that. I know hormonal issues can feel really hard to overcome. Okay, it can be frustrating. You can wonder what the heck is happening. It can kind of hit you like out of the blue, almost overnight, it seems sometimes. And we're left like spinning, thinking, what is going on? We feel like it is hormonal. And honestly, I believe that most of us women, we have an innate wisdom around our health and our bodies. And when we tune in to the body and how it's talking to us, generally it does point us in the direction that something is off balance. And it's obviously hormones in this case. The good news is that many of the things that contribute to hormone imbalance and hormone balance can be controlled, even changed, improved, and optimized through a healthy diet and through lifestyle changes. Okay, so let's move into the meat and potatoes. pun intended, whether you eat meat or not. So there are 10 tips for creating a hormone healthy diet. Here are those 10 tips, and I am actually going to go into them in a little more detail for us, okay, one by one, but in a nutshell, here they are. Oh, and hello, everybody watching with me.
Okay.
Paying attention to my comments that come in too. So the first one, guys, and this is really, really important. And this is probably maybe the hardest thing. As a woman, we've been conditioned with kind of that diet mentality. Okay, a lot of baby boomers, you know, eat less, eat salads, work out more. We got to stop dieting. Okay, that please. There's no need for restrictions, though. There's no need for guilt. Those things actually can contribute to some of the hormonal imbalances and unwanted symptoms we are experiencing. And if you've been a dieter, this is a culmination of those years of dieting and restricting in your 20s and 30s that are now presenting themselves under a microscope for you to look at. Number 2 is create a balanced plate. I'll talk about what that means and how it looks. Eat regularly. I'll talk more about that, but I think you probably know where I'm getting at with that, which means no skipping meals. We're going to eat mindfully. All right. Eat organic. Eat healthy fat. Get enough protein. I would love to know what you think is a general protein guideline for women in perimenopause. If you have an idea, type it in the comment. Let me know. We're going to up our fiber. What are some fiber-based, fiber-rich foods? Do you know what foods give you fiber? And then we're going to reduce coffee, not entirely, but we'll reduce it, especially if it needs to be reduced, and sugar. Now, my personal favorite, because when we're dealing with hormones, often we're dealing with not just the sex hormones. The most well-known is, you know, our sex hormones and our estrogen, progesterone, those kind of things. But there are some other littler known hormones that play a part in what is happening in perimenopause: leptin, ghrelin, insulin, thyroid hormones. So sugar is kind of like the naughty substance that can throw everything out of balance. It can cause inflammation, which in turn creates a cascade effect. Think of dominoes, okay? Sugar, boom, 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 down the line. So one of the best things you can do, if nothing else that you take away from today, is start to look at your sugar consumption. Ideally, no more than 24 grams of added sugar a day. Okay, added sugar. I don't mean the sugar that we get naturally in food. I am talking about the added sugar that comes from processed foods. Things like, you know, breads, buns, cereals, processed pastas, all these things. You want to look at that and be very honest with yourself. Start reading labels. Start looking at ways you can swap it out. Does it need to be added? If the answer is no, get rid of it. All right. So let's go into each of these in a little more depth. So the first one, stop dieting. Okay. So it's essential to understand that dieting does not work long-term. Okay. Not even the so-called healthy diet where you're really restricting calories or you're taking out complete macronutrient areas. Like you can't completely take out carbs. You can't completely take out fats. These are essential macronutrients. So I encourage you to do research on the physiology of your body and why those macronutrients are needed. So you understand that we need to get out of that diet mindset, ditch it, kick it to the curb, and start to focus instead on supporting your body. Instead of taking away, how can we add? Okay, how can we add nutrition? How can we add whole foods? How can we add the macronutrients that our body needs to survive? Okay, and for hormone balance. So instead of moving from one diet to the next, focus on eating real food and make the most of strategic lifestyle changes needed to optimize your health. You know, there's a saying, WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. I love it. Applies to a wholesome, dense, nutritious way of eating. Okay, diet, for lack of a better word, way of eating, I like better. And that's, is it a banana? Yes, it's a banana. Is what you see what you get? Does it have a long list of ingredients? If so, it's not what you see is what you get. The more whole you can go, the better. So I don't suggest spending your day with a calculator, you know, calculating macros or counting calories. By all means, that is a lot of stress making in itself. And in menopause and perimenopause, the goal is to take off the plate, not add to it. Okay, so you want to take away stress, not add more. So the whole calorie counting, macros, all those things, they are not sustainable. Diets are not sustainable in the long run. Okay. And if you're in this for the long haul, good. High fives to you. 2 thumbs up, because you're either wanting quick and fast or you're wanting built to last. At this phase of life, I'll give you a tip. It is built to last. Okay. That is where we want to go with this. Supporting our bodies and setting it up for 10, 20, 30, 40 more years of lean muscles, strong bones and joints, a healthy system, balanced hormones, great, clear mindset, all those wonderful things. Okay. So stop dieting. Number 2, create a well-balanced plate. So we have macronutrients, as I mentioned, fat, protein, and carbohydrates. They play a major role in how our hormones function in the body. They influence the synthesis, the absorption, and the behavior of our hormones. If the meals we eat are not macronutrient balanced, it can impair and affect the way our bodies function from the physiological hormonal level. So be sure to build a balanced plate, which includes fat, lean protein, and the right carbohydrates. So notice the word right. The right carbohydrates are complex, nutrient-dense carbohydrates like sweet potatoes and whole oats. A little tip for most people these days is make sure they're gluten-free, because that is something that really does tend to create inflammation. And again, we are looking to reduce inflammation from all sources, especially in perimenopause. So a balanced plate, okay? And I like to say, a cup to 2 of fibrous vegetables will get there each meal, morning, noon, and night. More on that in the next few slides here. So eating regularly, okay, this is very important. Okay, this was number 2 on our top 10 list for how to eat for hormone health. Skipping meals is never a good idea for women, especially when it comes to hormone health. This applies to IF, intermittent fasting. I work with a lot of women. When we start to get them out of that mindset, things start to shift. Here's the thing, and there's been a lot of studies done on women in perimenopause when it comes to intermittent fasting, longer term studies now. It works until it doesn't. It'll work, but when it stops not working, again, we have that cascade effect where we've created a situation where now our body starts to kind of rebel, for lack of a better word, puts on the weight, turns off the fat release, turns off weight release, insulin resistance starts to happen. And if you've watched previous videos, we want to be insulin sensitive. We want to be very sensitive to what insulin does for us. It helps to balance blood sugar. It helps to turn fat burning on. It helps to do a whole bunch of things, not to mention reducing some of the unwanted symptoms of the perimenopause journey. So skipping meals is never a good idea, especially when it comes to our hormone health. Our body is different than a man's, obviously, and is very sensitive to calorie restriction. Okay. When you skip a meal, for example, breakfast, okay, this is the biggest offender, the one that most of us skip, your body interprets it as a threat. It starts saving fat just in case, leading to a surge in belly fat. And I will mention, there are 2 types of belly fat. There is the subcutaneous, the kind you can kind of pinch, okay? There's the visceral body fat, the kind that you can't necessarily pinch, okay? It's in under the skin and around the muscles, around the organs. That's the dangerous kind, all right? That's the one we want to be cautious of. At the same time, okay, as we start saving fat just in case, leading to a surge in belly fat, at the same time, this response triggers the production of ghrelin, which is also called the hunger hormone. The result, when you do get a chance to eat, it's likely you're going to be eating for 2 or 3 people, or so it feels, okay? So we want to eat regularly and start slow. If you are not a breakfast eater, you may not, again, because of what I just said, that hunger hormone ghrelin may not be working properly, but its second cousin, leptin, may not be either. So you may not be getting that hunger cue. Once you start slowly and consistently eating regular meals and not skipping breakfast, you are setting your body and hormones, fat burning, blood sugar, insulin, everything up positively at the start of the day when cortisol levels should be their highest anyways, and supporting it in a more healthful manner, okay? When you start doing that over time, you will likely find that hunger cue starts to happen again. I've worked with a few women who have absolutely no hunger cue. They barely eat, yet they can't release any weight. And this goes to the why. Okay, so there's generally always a why, and we want to get to that why so we can identify the why. Let's not throw a pill at it to band-aid and cover it up, because we have not identified lifestyle changes that can give us powerful results. Okay, so skipping meals can also make your body send out hormones like cortisol, which is our stress hormone, okay, one of them, which further changes the way our body metabolizes food and stores fat. Skipping meals can also lead to fatigue and mood swings. So if you would like to practice intermittent fasting, that's great. You can do it overnight. For example, you close your eating window at 7 p.m., you reopen it at 8 a.m. Great. That's a 13-hour fast. That is still a lot. Okay. All right. So let's move into the next thing, which was the next to do on our How to Eat for Hormone Health, and it is eating mindfully. Now, as you are listening to this, okay, if you have comments or you are late or you're watching this on the replay, type replay or type live. If you're with me here, let me know that you're here. So let's talk about eating mindfully. Mindful eating is a technique that you can use to gain control over your eating habits. You can use it to promote weight loss and reduce binge eating. At its core, the essence of mindful eating, it's all about eating slowly and without distraction. Okay, so how many of us, we've got our sandwich, we're steering the car, we're doing this, trying to pay attention to the road, So we want to start eating more mindfully and tuning in so that not only can we be aware of how fast we're eating, but also when we're full, okay? Eating only until you're full and listening to the hunger cues. Most of us a lot of us try to eat through the day. We are basically numbing the hunger cues. We are grazing through the day. We are never giving ourselves an opportunity to let the natural hunger cues, leptin and ghrelin, do their work, to let ghrelin do its natural business, okay, to feel hungry. And when we can start to let that happen through eating mindfully, through not skipping meals, through not grazing all day long, then we can start to not only distinguish between real hunger and non-hunger triggers, but we can start to turn on that fat burning, turn on that weight release, turn on a more effective, efficient metabolism. Okay. So more on eating mindfully. It means engaging all of your senses and noticing the flavors, the smells, the texture, the color of the food you're eating. Okay. So mindful eating can also go a long way in helping learn to cope with food-related guilt or anxiety. It can also help to maintain our overall health and our well-being. It can help us to appreciate food more, have a healthier diet, and thus achieve hormonal balance. Okay. There was an exercise I'll share that it goes to kind of mindset, gratitude, your mental health. And it was when you eat, tune in to what you're eating and be grateful not only for the food you're eating, but think, this food is on my plate because this human helped take it out of the ground. This human helped put it in this bag. This human helped drive it in a truck across Canada to get to the supermarket, right? This person helped. And it's really neat, fascinating actually, when you start to appreciate the origin of your food from birth, so to speak, to table. Very powerful and gives you a greater sense of appreciation, not just for being mindful eating, but for what you're actually putting in your body as well. A very deeper relationship, which also helps to cultivate, if you have any sort of negative relationship with food, can help you cultivate a good relationship. As far as to say, think of how that food is affecting your body as you ingest it, the moment it goes into your mouth, as it goes into your stomach. Tuning into how a food affects you can also be a part of your self-care, self-love ritual. Now, this goes into a deeper layer of more emotional-based eating, okay? Is that when we really start to tune into what we're eating and understand how it affects us and learn to love and care for our body to such an extent that if we see a sugar-glazed donut, yes, the part of our mind that likes that hit of dopamine from that fast sugar rush might be first and foremost, but we might also tune into that part of ourselves that goes, oh, wait, what is this going to do in my body? How hard is this going to make my body work? How much is this going to make my beautiful, wonderful body have to go out of its way to get rid of this? Or where is it going to go? Because it's not what my body wants. Okay. When you start to see yourself in more of a compassionate way with food, it is very powerful. Okay. I'll tell you a story. Once upon a time, I actually used to smoke cigarettes. Okay. In my early 20s and through my 20s until I was in my early 30s. Yes. I just admitted this publicly. I used to smoke cigarettes, and it wasn't until I cultivated this absolute incredible appreciation and self-love for my body. I went to put that cigarette in my mouth one day and I thought, oh my goodness, thinking of myself as that 4-year-old girl, what are you doing to me? Right. And that was it. Ditch the cigarettes. And I take that approach. It's not guilt, it's love. I take that approach now to everything. What is the impact this is going to have on me? Sorry for the tangent there. I just thought that was worth mentioning because there is such a strong component to emotion in food. Does it mean we can never enjoy something that we associate with love, with support, with comfort? Maybe it reminds us of getting together with our grandparents as a child and eating a cookie. No, it doesn't mean we should avoid that altogether. It means we should be aware consciously of the choice we make to do something, to take an action, to know how it's going to affect us. Therefore, we will save it for those special occasions. We will make it something to look forward to rather than the norm. It'll be more of the exception to the rule. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm going to move on to the next thing, which was eating organically. And as you will see, certain foods can help promote hormone balance, like I mentioned in the beginning. However, sometimes, more so in our current modern day age, okay, no matter how healthy and nutritious our diet is, we may notice some of these issues just won't go away. When this happens, it could mean that there is a chance something else is at play. Often health is multidimensional, okay? In many cases, endocrine disruptors are to blame. I remember I did a webinar a couple of weeks back where I talked about endocrine disrupting scents, synthetic chemicals, from what we put on our skin to what we put in our scent burners in our home, and they all have an effect on our hormones. So talking more about eating organically, to that end, endocrine disruptors are substances that alter the functioning of the body's endocrine system, basically our hormone system, okay? It's impossible to avoid endocrine disruptors altogether unless you move into the middle of nowhere or you go and find a deserted island that's never been habitated before, plant a tree, eat off the land. Okay, it is impossible to avoid them altogether right now. They are found almost everywhere, from plastic packaging to beauty products to pesticides in the food supply. So what can we do? Even looking at organic food, so that at least when it comes to two choices, we're making a little bit of a better choice by choosing organic. At a minimum, there is such a thing as the dirty dozen, 12 foods that you want to always go for organic when you're purchasing, and the clean 15. 15 of the foods, you know what, you may want to go organic, but if you don't, it's not quite as detrimental to your health. Okay. And if you're interested in that, reach out. I'd love to send you my clean 15 and dirty dozen. In fact, with any of the purchases in the store on the balanceyourhormones.online, all the meal plans come with the clean 15 and dirty dozen included, so you can have that reference. So next on the list, I want to talk about eating healthy fats. Again, one of the essential macronutrients for our life, for survival. Healthy fats are essential building blocks for hormones. There are three types of hormones, okay? There are lipid derived, there are peptide derived, and amino acid derived hormones. Fats are a subgroup of lipid. So lipid, peptide, amino acid. Under lipid, fats are a subgroup of this and are the main component in the formation of lipid derived hormones, a category that includes reproductive hormones such as estrogen and testosterone, also sometimes referred to as the sex hormones. Healthy fats also play a vital role in the absorption of vitamins A, D, and E, also K, which help in the balancing of hormones. So consider healthy fats such as avocado, extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, your fatty fish, okay, preferably wild caught, and raw seeds as sources of healthy fats. And I'll just kind of share some of my experience in working with women is very often thinking that it is the right thing to do. Many women, particularly when they're cutting out carbs, there seems to be a correlation between healthy fat and carb consumption. And then, it'll be like they'll have lots of, vegetables and fruit, and, chicken breast, what have you. no real carbs to be seen other than, the carbs that are like fruit and vegetables, and no fat either. And once you start to incorporate those healthy fats purposefully through the day, your energy improves, your fat burning ability starts to turn on, your hormones start to be balanced. So please take a look at your own diet and be like, where am I purposefully adding healthy fats? Again, think of a teeter-totter. Okay, you got a teeter-totter. Add too many, tip the scale. Don't add enough, tip the scale. So we want to find that balance. So I want you to remember, when it comes to healthy fats, thumbs up. If you can remember healthy fats equals thumbs up, think about a thumb of healthy fat at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. That's a really nice guideline. Okay, everyone's different. That's going to give you a good guideline. This much healthy fat, usually about a tablespoon, 2 teaspoons a tablespoon in breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Okay, purposely add that. So if you're having a salad, it's easy. Take your oil, add some balsamic vinegar, spices, whatever you want, herbs, sprinkle it over. There you go. Okay. If you have questions on that, by all means, let me know. We're going to move into my favorite macronutrient for women in perimenopause, and one that very few of us get enough of. Can anyone guess what macronutrient most of us don't get enough of, that we need more of in perimenopause? If you're watching me live or on the replay, I'd love to know in the comments what you think, and I'm going to tell you. So we want to get enough protein. This actually sometimes comes as a shocker by just how much we need. Many of us don't get enough, okay? This is where meal prepping and having a plan is huge, because it enables us to understand how much we need. Then we can plan our meal prep and our life around making sure we get it. It is magic. I cannot say enough about the power of protein in perimenopause, the 3 Ps, powerful protein in perimenopause. So as was earlier mentioned, there are 3 types of hormones. Okay, I mentioned the lipid, the peptide, and the amino acid derived hormones. So one of these types, the amino acid derived hormones, those are things like melatonin, thyroid, and some adrenal hormones are examples of amino acid derived hormones. Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. Okay. Besides playing a vital role in the synthesis of hormones, they also aid in several other important processes through the body. So it's essential to consume enough quality protein if you want to meet your body's amino acid requirements, to achieve optimal hormonal health. Believe it or not, to improve your sleep naturally without sleep pills and medications. Quality protein, and enough of it. Okay, not just 1 chicken breast a day. We're talking 25 to 30 grams of protein at breakfast, 25 to 30 grams, my friends, at lunch, 25 to 30 grams at dinner. It's more than you think. That can be a combination of animal protein combined with plant-based proteins to create that target quota. Okay, whether you're plant-based, vegan, or animal-based, there are so many solutions. Start reading labels. Start figuring out, if I add my hemp seeds, if I add my protein powder, if I add this egg, if I add this oatmeal, all those, if I add this plain non-fat coconut yogurt, whatever, add it all up and see. Okay, it's good exercise for you to experience just how much protein is in things and how much you need. Okay, so it's essential to consume enough quality proteins to meet those amino acid requirements, achieve optimal health. And then there should be a healthy balance, if you are an animal eater, of omnivore and plant-based proteins in the diet. It is more challenging to get complete protein if you are plant-based or vegan. Okay, you don't want to get it from the vegan junk food, okay, so to speak, because there's, just because something is vegan doesn't mean it is healthy for you if it's loaded with the sugar. As we know, we don't want the excess sugar because of inflammation and all of what it does to blood sugar regulation, insulin, etc. So we want to get that balance of high quality protein. Plant-based, this is a bonus, plant-based proteins are adaptogenic, okay? While consuming, or over consuming, I should say, omnivore or animal-based proteins are higher in pro-inflammatory arachidonic, say that 10 times, arachidonic acid. Okay, so over consuming animal proteins to an extent, because if you are consuming those that are high in inflammation causing arachidonic acid can lead to further inflammation. I was going to say inflation, but that's our prime minister's job. Inflammation. Okay, bad joke. So a really nice way to look at it is a combination. Okay, unless you're purely plant-based or vegan, you can get it through combining various foods to create that full source. And just as an FYI, some complete sources that are non-animal, things like quinoa is a complete protein. Seitan, Seitan, complete protein. Teff, I believe, complete protein. So do a little bit of looking and you can find that if you do not, or you choose not to eat animal proteins. Okay. Now, here comes protein followed by fiber. Protein and fiber, a perimenopausal girl's best friend. Fiber is essential for hormone health for one essential reason. Are you ready for this? I would love to know if you can think or guess what fiber is essential for when it comes to hormone health. Estrogen removal. Did you know that? If you're watching me live or on the replay, and this comes as an eye-opening piece of information, I'd love to know it. I'll repeat. Fiber is essential to hormone health for one central reason, estrogen removal, okay? Fiber is essential to overall health, not just hormone health, for other reasons, like it cleans out our digestive system, okay? It's pre-probiotic effects and qualities. But let's talk about estrogen. So estrogen is a reproductive hormone primarily produced in the ovaries. As estrogen accumulates in the body, the liver processes any excess and it's eliminated through our stools. If you're constipated, estrogen will not be removed from the body and it will be reabsorbed, okay? This can lead to excess estrogen that causes a list of issues, including, are you ready? Bloating, mood swings, breast tenderness, lumps in the breast, headaches, irregular periods, weight gains, increased PMS symptoms, fatigue, and trouble sleeping. How many of those symptoms are you currently experiencing? Think about it. And then just as much, I want you to think about honestly, you don't need to tell me or anyone else, how much fiber are you getting in your diet, okay? When I say fiber, I mean fibrous vegetables, a full spectrum, multicolored, beautifully colored vegetables, from your beets to your broccoli to your snap peas, okay? Not as much fiber in terms of dense nutrition are things like, romaine and iceberg lettuce, not quite there. So if you're just having, for example, a romaine lettuce salad, you want to throw in maybe some broccoli, maybe some snap peas, maybe some lima beans or nuts and seeds or edamame, shelled edamame. Great, believe it or not, soy, 25% reduction, certain cancers in perimenopause by women who increase and ingest soy on a regular basis. Soybeans, mature, are always better than young. That's today's next FYI for you. So think about how many of those things I repeat: breast tenderness, mood swings, bloating, headaches, irregular periods, weight gain, increased PMS symptoms, so heavy periods, painful periods, fatigue, trouble sleeping. These could all be caused from an excess of estrogen that is not being processed and eliminated through your stools because you haven't had enough fiber. Best way to get fiber, ladies, is not Metamucil. It is high quality fibrous vegetables, okay? So this is why eating plenty of fiber is important. It helps prevent constipation. It will also help empty our bowels more efficiently. Keeping your bowels moving can do wonders for your hormone health. To boost your fiber intake, eat plenty of plant-based foods such as quinoa, oats, buckwheat, chia, flax seeds, and the vegetables, the host of beautiful colored, densely nutritious vegetables. And there are so many of them. So I will repeat, to boost your fiber intake, we want things like quinoa, oats, buckwheat, chia, flax seeds, and fibrous vegetables. Now we're going to talk about coffee. And on that note, I'm going to take a sip of mine. I actually do have a coffee. I've had this going for an hour. It's time for a sip. Okay, so I can see mentioning the word coffee. Everyone's a little protective of their morning coffee ritual. I get it. Trust me. But here's the thing. Coffee as an occasional indulgence or 1 or 2 in the morning because you love the taste, it helps you go is fine, but excessive or even regular consumption or overconsumption of coffee and other caffeinated drinks, okay, can cause a huge problem when it comes to hormone balance, okay? Especially, this is a big especially caveat here, especially if adrenal fatigue is involved. I'm not saying you have to ditch coffee altogether right now. Just be mindful of how much you're consuming and try to reduce it by a cup, 2, 3, 4 a week overall to start. Also look at when you're consuming coffee, okay? Maybe you're gonna say at noon, my cutoff, no coffee in the afternoon, or limit your coffee to those 2 cups before 11 a.m. and then ditch it. Or drink half calf, okay? If you don't wanna cut it out altogether and you don't need to, I want you to think maybe, half decaf, half caffeine. Start with a little bit of that maybe for your second, or if you're a big heavy drinker of coffee, your third or fourth, switch it to decaf. You still get the taste. Trick yourself into thinking it's caffeinated, okay? It's an excellent way to slowly start adjusting to a life with less caffeine. It does have some benefits, but again, remember that teeter-totter? Too much, we tilt the balance. Too little would do nothing. Okay. And then let's talk about sugar. So this is number 10, sugar. And then I'm going to wrap it up here for everybody. So sugar, huge, huge source of inflammation. Back in the olden days, before the Industrial Revolution, before we had factories that mass produce things like cereals and packaged foods and changed the inherent natural nature of what a foodstuff is into something else, we didn't really have to worry about this. Yeah, sugar, you take some sugar cane and chomp on it, right? These days, sugar gets a bad rap, and for good cause, because sugar, including both refined carbohydrates and the white stuff, is a disaster for hormone health. It can lead to rapid weight gain, blood sugar problems, and increased risk of heart disease, diabetes, you name it. It also can help to suppress and reduce immunity. These days, we want to boost our immunity, okay? It also adversely affects the body's endocrine system, which is responsible for creating and regulating hormones. Sugar does this by disrupting the production of the hormone insulin. So when your insulin production is out of whack, okay, everything else falls apart, especially estrogen and testosterone levels. And so I'm just going to back up to the story I shared about how when I start choosing certain foods, I look and think of what is that doing to my body? What is that doing to my why, to my goal? How is it either serving or sabotaging my efforts to be a healthy, optimally functioning human and body? Look at that when it comes to sugar and be aware of what that is doing when you ingest it. Okay. And think of that teeter-totter again. You probably will not experience any negative repercussions whatsoever by avoiding or eliminating sugar out of your diet. You will not, however, experience a lack of negative effects by increasing sugar. So if you have the sugar, you take the negative effects, you take it out, you'll have good effects. Does that make sense? Okay. So think about how much sugar you have. These days when it's grab and go food, even getting a grilled chicken wrap from drive-through, if it's a white wrap, you're getting processed sugars, okay? The coffee creamer, if it's sweetened, you're putting in your coffee, okay? The extra cookie, the sauces, the store-bought sauces that you're layering all of your meat in and cooking in, extra sources of sugar. Okay, so look at all those sources of sugar and be aware of how they can negatively disrupt and impact your endocrine system. If you're having a hard time turning fat burning on, releasing weight, sleeping, combating all like the sore joints and what have you, first place to look, inflammation. What sources of inflammation are in your life? And then do what you can to reduce those sources of inflammation, sugar being one of them. Okay, so from today's webinar, you can see that hormone health goes hand in hand with your diet. The saying you are what you eat doesn't hold truer than here, okay? This is why it is so important to eat whole, real foods. Remember, clean 15, dirty dozen when you're choosing. Your body needs the nutrients these foods contain to stay healthy, to heal, to support hormone balance and be sure they are kept in balance. So if you have thoughts, questions, or comments on that, guys, those of you who have watched this, or if you're watching on the replay, please use the comments here in the Fit Over 40 group to comment. And speaking of, are you ready to rock some delicious hormone healthy recipes? I am going to give away, anyone who comments, recipes, please, by watching this webinar or on the replay, or if you're watching it on my YouTube channel down the road and you comment, I'm gonna send you my high protein, whole food based, delicious recipe kit. 15 recipes that are higher in protein, heavy and dense nutrition, but not calories, okay? To those of you who've watched or comment. So if you want them, please comment below, recipes, please, and I will send them to you, or send me a private message, contact@juliehudge.ca, or private message me on Facebook to let me know you watched and you'd like the recipes. I'll send them your way. I'd also recommend that you visit balanceyourhormones.online, balanceyourhormones.online, www, if you haven't yet. If you are struggling, if you want some personalized support, if you want to talk about what that could look like for you, book your free discovery call if you haven't already. 15 minutes, we'll chat, no pressure, no sales pitch, just a nice, friendly chat to talk about you and help share what I do, because I'm committed to supporting women. I know how it feels. I've been there. I know how it feels to thrive through perimenopause. And more importantly, I know how empowering it is to know what to do it, and then to really be in tune with your body so that you can then become your best advocate moving forward to know how things affect you and make more empowered, educated choices. So thank you so much, guys, for listening today, for joining me if you're live, for listening if it's on the replay. There are a few ways you can contact me. As I mentioned, one is email, contact@juliehudge.ca. You can text me, 403-651-1088. If you're watching this on YouTube or on my website, you can join our Fit Over 40 group on Facebook. All right, there's a link to that on my homepage, balanceyourhormones.online. And if you have any questions, please reach out, guys. That is a wrap. Have yourself a wonderful day. I really hope you took some great tips and strategies away from this webinar. And have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon.